balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic. Providing context on today's events, this is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Perspective. I am your host, Rick. And I just realized I don't have my sponsor script up in front of me, so bear with me for just a second while I grab that. Because if I don't, I'm going to screw everything up. Yeah, you know how that goes. I mean, this is live broadcasting, folks. This is what happens when you're not prepared. Anyway, hello, everyone. How are you doing tonight? I hope everyone is having a fantastic evening and has, where is it? There it is. And has had a wonderful start to your weekend. First of all, I do want to throw because I'm not going to be broadcasting tomorrow, I do want to throw a shout out to all those jarheads. Marines out there, happy birthday to the Marines tomorrow. November 10th, happy birthday, hoorah, and Semper Fi to all of you Marines that are out there. That's just the way it works. So, obviously, Monday will be Veterans Day, and I will be broadcasting for Veterans Day. I'm going to try and put together a nice little program for the veterans to talk about a few things. And of course, provide a thank you for them so they can, yeah. So there you go. All right, let's go ahead and get things kicked off tonight. We are led by the wonderful team of Coco, Cam, and Sean in the Pledge of Allegiance. Now, for those of you that are not aware of Sean is mostly nonverbal autistic, and so you'll hear him start in the beginning, then you'll hear him drop to his usual thing, and then he'll end it as well. So no worries, it's not your... you're not hearing anything. It's actually great because Sean he gets so excited. I just love this. I love this Pledge of Allegiance. So anyway, we're going to go with Coco, Cam, and Sean with the Pledge of Allegiance. So please, if you are of mind, please stand, remove your hats if you're wearing one. If not, make sure you put your hand over your heart and join in with Coco, Cam, and Sean in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And I thank you, Coco, Cam, and Sean, for giving me the wonderful rendition of the Pledge of Allegiance. If you would like to hear your rendition played here on the program, it's really I consider it quite easy. All you need to do is record yourself doing the pledge in your style, and then take that audio file, attach it to an email, and send it off to fans, F-A-N-S, at americanperspective.online. That's fans, F-A-N-S, at americanperspective.online. And I will get you into the rotation for the program. Tonight's program is sponsored by the Institute on the Constitution. The Institute on the Constitution was established in 2004 as a 501c3 nonprofit with one singular mission, and that is to restore the constitutional republic through grassroots education. All courses and materials are developed using primary source documents and taught from the American view of law and government as defined in the Declaration of Independence in the following 3 key points. 1, there is a God. 2, our rights come from him. And 3, the purpose of civil government is to secure and protect our God-given rights. The IOTC offers the opportunity to educate yourself on our most precious founding document, the Constitution of the United States. They also provide tools to educate your community and get involved with local government. Start by taking their free U.S. Constitution course and go from there. Use my affiliate link, iotc.americanperspective.online to sign up. And while you are there, take a moment to look through their other course material and information. My affiliate link, once again, is iotc.americanperspective.online to get great content to learn about our historical founding and support the show in the process. That's iotc.americanperspective.online. Or if you just want to purchase this fabulous Saddleback, a leather-bound U.S. Constitution to support the show, go to constitution.americanperspective.online. Check this out. It's 1/8 of an inch of Saddleback leather wrapped around pages that are tear and water resistant, all bound together. Nothing cheap here, no cheap glue. This is stitched all the way through the leather, through the pages and the leather, holding it all together. It has a 100-year warranty against materials and workmanship defects, so if something goes wrong, you send it back to the manufacturer and they will either fix it or replace it for free. This is Buddy tested, Buddy approved, Billy tasted, Billy approved, and my youngest whiskey warrior has confirmed that the information inside will help to get you your civics badge in scouting. It may also get your civics test as well. Go to constitution.americanperspective.online to get yours today. And don't forget, Christmas is coming up. These make great stocking stuffers for all in your family, whether they are conservative or leftist. Make sure you head to constitution.americanperspective.online and get yours today. And of course, I encourage you to go to the Institute on the Constitution and check out all the rest of their offerings there. So I thank them for allowing me to be an affiliate of theirs. All right. So tonight is Saturday. Saturday is whiskey day. So tonight I am drinking Knob Creek, number 9. Well, that's 9 years aged. Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey in my glass, but I have a new glass here, folks. I do. And because I have a new glass, I have to get rid of my background so you can see what is written on it. Here it is. Let's make sure it gets... So this was a... trying to get it to focus. There we go. So this was a suggestion by 3 Chevy. And I know it's a little hard to see because of the reflection of everything, but it says, that's what I do. I drink and I know things. There it is. So 3 Chevy. There you go. I got it in my glass. Plus I got a couple whiskey stones. As 3 Chevy says, it takes whiskey to drink with stones. I think he meant it takes stones to drink with whiskey, but that's okay. It's fine. So that's my new glass. That's what I do. I drink and I know things. Anyway. All right, let me get my background back up. There we go. All righty, folks, let's go ahead and get into the first segment of the show. Every single Saturday we do this. This is On This Day in American History. And of course, for On This Day in American History, we read from the American Patriots Almanac, written by William J. Bennett and John T.E. Cribb, chock full of all kinds of factoids and information about our historical founding. And here we go. Tonight, we're going to discuss Benjamin Banneker. To Benjamin Banneker, born this day in 1731 in Baltimore County, Maryland, the words "all men are created" had potent meaning. A free black and descendant of former slaves, Banneker had been limited to a few scattered months of education at a one-room Quaker school. But from an early age, he exhibited a mathematical and scientific genius. As a young farmer, he decided to build a clock that struck the hours, even though he had never seen one before. He made it entirely from wood, carving the gears and wheels with a pocket knife, and it kept time for more than 40 years. At age 57, Banneker borrowed some books and a telescope from a neighbor, George Ellicott, and taught himself astronomical calculations that allowed him to predict the 1789 solar eclipse. In 1791, he helped lay out the boundaries of the nation's new capital, the District of Columbia. From 1792 to 1797, he furnished the astronomical tables for Benjamin Banneker's Pennsylvania, Delaware, Maryland, and Virginia Almanac. The yearly almanacs spread his fame as the African astronomer, and abolitionists used them to fight anti-black stereotypes. Banneker sent his first almanac to Secretary of State Thomas Jefferson, along with a letter reminding him of the ideals he expressed in the Declaration of Independence. He wrote Jefferson that he hoped that your sentiments are concurrent with mine, which are that one universal Father hath given being to us all, and that he hath afforded us all the same sensations and endowed us all with the same faculties. Jefferson's cordial reply expressed satisfaction to see such proofs as you exhibit. A more cognate observation came from Maryland's James McHenry, a signer of the Constitution. Benjamin Banneker's work, he wrote, showed that the powers of the mind are disconnected to the color of the skin. That is today's On This Day in American History. Now, don't sit here and tell me, folks, that we were built on the idea of slavery and racism when you have stories such as that occurring in our history. What a bunch of bunk. Those leftists that are out there saying that we were founded on slavery and that we were founded on racism. Yeah, they are completely freaking wrong. Totally wrong. All right. So, apparently there was a, well, you know how whenever we do polls, there's always an exit poll, and exit polling will ask different questions and so on and so forth. Well, apparently there was an exit poll that was done that asked people who was the bigger threat to democracy, whether it was Kamala Harris or Donald Trump. And the results that they got back were really no big surprise to anybody who is, halfway intelligent and not a moron, which is essentially that it followed along with the voting of the people. And that is that Kamala Harris was the greatest threat or greater threat to democracy than what Donald Trump was. Here's the article in Woke Spy. A core rhetoric of the Democrats' election campaign was the perceived threat to democracy that President-elect Trump posed. Democracy is on the ballot became a rallying cry. Of course, this came from a side which launched a coup against an incumbent president and pushed a presidential nominee who failed to win a single primary. It will always be debated, but one could convincingly argue that the Democrats' opponent was the victim of political persecution. It's not, don't give me that. It's not debated. That is actually what happened. But anyway, something which undeniably is a threat to democracy itself. So here is the Real Clear Politics, or Real Clear Polling, exit polls with voters who are anxious about democracy. Roughly 7 in 10 voters believed that American democracy was very or somewhat threatened this year. But yet both groups actually voted for Trump. Now, granted, it was by a narrow margin, but still, both groups who said that that democracy, quote unquote, was very threatened. Okay. 51% of them said that they voted for Trump, which had a 4-point plus spread for Trump. Somewhat threatened, 50% said that they voted for Trump, which was a 1-point spread. The only category that actually voted for Harris was the somewhat secure category, which basically pointed out that 48% went for Trump, 50% went for Harris. Folks, people, the American populace knew of all of the things that had been going on over the last 4 years and possibly even earlier than that. All of the lawfare, all of the censorship, all of the things that have been going on, they found out, they heard, and they responded. That's what this is showing. And actually, it gives me hope for America, believe it or not, because of the fact that, Americans got smart. They started to see and have seen of all the lawfare and everything else that's been going on here and the anti-democratic rhetoric that the left has been pushing out all this time is essentially a warning across the bow of America to let America know that, hey, we have a problem here. Now, I have called her, rightfully so, on all kinds of the social outlets that she is a Marxist, leftist, Democrat moron. She is. And she was being set up to help further the destruction of this country. The American people heard that. They knew she was bad. And they resoundingly responded and said, we're done with this. It's over. When they sat here and they were comparing Trump to Adolf Hitler, okay, when Biden called Trump supporters garbage, all of this stuff compiled and compressed into the Trump massive victory that you saw on Tuesday. But what's interesting about this is we don't really understand how deep this actually goes. Well, I mean, some of us do because we've been watching it. We've been paying attention to it. We've been seeing the signs everywhere. And yet some still are in that other camp. They still don't see that their side, meaning Kamala Harris and the Democrats, the new Democrats, I'm not going to call them the long-time old Democrats. These are the new Democrats, the ones who are abandoning Americanism and America's policies, principles, values, etc., and are handing over their party to the leftist Marxist morons that are attempting to destroy America. And what am I talking about? Well, the bureaucrats did it again, folks. There's a new report out that shows how anti-American and definitely how anti-Trump the bureaucrats in D.C. truly are. I mean, we've already seen it. We've seen, like, the FBI. We've seen, other places that have basically, been completely anti-American, been against American people and American values. But here, how could it even get? I mean, I understand like censorship, I don't understand it, but still, the point being is, it makes sense that they would try to censor their opponents. They would try to, go after or maybe label certain people as insurrectionists or whatever. I mean, those kinds of things you can at least get. I won't say necessarily understand because they are definitely stupid in their doing so. But to sit there and to actually discriminate against a certain class of America, a certain class of Americans, especially during a time of need, shows a level of depravity and evil that this government, this bureaucracy, has toward the American people. What am I talking about? Well, this broke. This actually broke a couple of days ago, and I've been holding on to it, trying to get to it, but here it is. This is from the Daily Wire, and it's an exclusive. A FEMA official ordered relief workers to skip houses that had Trump signs on them. A whistleblower let the Daily Wire know and said that it's almost unbelievable to think that somebody in the federal government would think that that was okay. Okay? So, a federal disaster relief official ordered workers to bypass the homes of Donald Trump supporters as they surveyed damage caused by Hurricane Milton in Florida, according to some internal correspondence that was obtained by the Daily Wire, and has been confirmed by multiple federal employees. Now, kind of an update, because this story is a couple of days old. Apparently, I'm being told by one of my fantastic whiskey warriors out there that the guy who did this, the person who did this, was fired. All right. But that being said, a FEMA supervisor told workers in a message to avoid homes advertising Trump as they canvassed the area around Lake Placid, Florida, to identify residents who could qualify for federal aid, internal messages viewed by the Daily Wire reveal. Well, here is reportedly one of those actual messages, one of those actual text messages right here on the screen. You can see it talks, it's at the top. It says implement best practices. And here's some of the bullet points below. The bullet point number 1 is no one goes anywhere alone. Well, that makes sense. Well, then you have avoid homes advertising Trump. That is bullet point number 2 in this list. Okay. Seriously, you work for an agency that is designed to help Americans, to provide assistance to Americans after a natural disaster. Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, hello. Oh my gosh, I cannot even imagine this. Now, could you imagine if this kind of thing had happened under Trump? I mean, seriously, if that had even remotely happened under Trump, could you imagine the outrage of all of this? There would be like investigations. Trump would probably get impeached for it. There would be all kinds of uproar and outcry and so on and so forth by the Democrats over this. But the mainstream media seems to have just glossed over it, right? So here, back to the Daily Wire piece, the government employees told the Daily Wire that at least 20 homes with Trump signs or flags were skipped from the end of October and into November due to the guidance, meaning that they were not given the opportunity to qualify for FEMA assistance. Images shared with the Daily Wire show that houses were skipped over by the workers who wrote in the government system messages such as Trump sign, no entry, per leadership. So it's unclear whether the same guidance was issued elsewhere in the country. The employees were part of the Department of Homeland Security Surge Capacity Force team, meaning that they volunteered from other DHS agencies to help an understaffed FEMA as it dealt with the second major hurricane in the span of just a few weeks. Really? Really? I mean, what the hell? And you sit there and by you, I don't mean you as in my, faithful followers, Trump supporters. We all know the facts. We all know that this is the case. We all know that the government is infiltrated by a bunch of droogs and idiots and literally morons who are attempting to subvert the Constitution and everything else. And yet here they are, and it's blatantly obvious this kind of thing is going on And yet here they are claiming that they are the party of diversity. They are the party of inclusion. They are the party of tolerance. They are no such thing. These people are vindictive. They are evil. They do not deserve to be a part of public office at all. And this is exactly why the American people have voted for Donald Trump to get into office so that he can get in there and clean it up. And not only Donald Trump, too, because let's put it this way. It wasn't just a mandate. And I need you to understand this and truly grasp what this election and its results truly mean. This isn't just a mandate to bring back Trump. Trump needed the help. Trump needed to gain the other two, and I say two, houses of Congress. He needed to gain Republican support from the Senate and the House of Representatives in order for him to be able to employ and deploy his plans to correct all of this crap. And he got it because it was given to him by the American people. We gave the opportunity to the Republicans to go in and fix this mess. This is the mandate that's been put out by the American people to Donald Trump and the rest of the Republicans. And if any of these Republicans are not willing to get on board with this mandate, then we need to vote them out the next time around. If any of the Democrats that are in office right now don't see that if you don't get on board with this, you're going to get kicked out, you should. Because if you don't, this next round in 2026 is coming. The next round in 2026 is going to be here before you even know it. And I got to tell you, you might find that it's going to be a little bit harder for you to hang on to your frickin' seat the next time around. What do I mean by that? Well, let me show you. Let me show you what I mean. I'm kind of amazed actually at this. I'm going to tell you right now, but I'm kind of amazed at this particular situation. Here in Fox News, more than half of Harris voters want to relocate following the Trump win, according to a survey. Now, I know, Whiskey Warrior P1s, patriots of all kinds. We've been through this before. I mean, what happened in 2016? 2016, Trump got elected. Everybody was like, I'm going to leave. Well, you know what? Richard Gere actually reportedly has left the country. Anyway. But apparently nearly 54% of Harris voters want to move to a different state or a different country following Trump's win on Tuesday. Now, I don't understand the whole different state thing. I mean, I told you about the TikTok video that I saw of the young black man who was saying he was going to leave the United States, and he said that he was going to move to the island of Hawaii. I mean, that's like, I've also heard reliable information that there are people even in the communist state of Washington, where I live, who are wanting to move to Canada. Well, I hate to tell those people who are looking to move to Canada, Canada's immigration laws are actually more strict and restrictive than America's. They are. Canada doesn't just let anybody in. You have to go through a rigorous process to become a Canadian citizen up there. So good luck to you. And they've already pointed out that they're not just going to open their arms and welcome Democrat morons from here in the States. I mean, at least they may kind of agree with it, but at least they know that they're going to get, crap going on there. But this was a survey done by storageunits.com. And according to storageunits.com, based on their core insights, 54% of Harris voters say that they want to relocate. 10% of them say they definitely will or probably will. And that was actually split 5 to 5, 5% to 5%. Higher rates of Gen Zers and women are looking to move. So, hey, we're looking at we're looking at some positives here, people. I mean, if you're on the right side of the aisle, I'll say the correct side of the aisle, we're looking at some serious benefits out of all of this. I mean, it kind of goes along with the whole idea of all these Democrat women who are sitting there trying to say, oh, for the next 4 years, I'm going to abstain from sex. Well, like I said last episode, that's fantastic, folks. The reason why it's fantastic is because of the fact that means less abortions. It also means less morons procreating, in my mind. Now, one of the things that I found interesting on this survey had to deal with why these people are leaving. Well, here's a graphic from the survey. Here's the concerns are the things that are motivating Harris voters to talk about at least moving. Okay. The number one reason, which is well over 60%, almost 70%, I'd say it's probably somewhere in like the 66 to 67% range. Abortions will be federally banned. Okay. This is the level of intelligence that we're dealing with here, folks. The abortion issue was handed back to the freaking states. Congress, per the Dobbs decision, cannot do anything about it. It is right here in the Constitution. In fact, you can flip right through the book. It's right here. Flip right through it. Yeah, read through the whole thing. It takes you maybe 20 minutes. For those that are intelligent enough to be able to understand and comprehend English, there's nothing in the Constitution that says the federal government has any control either way of it. And by the way, there's this thing called the 10th Amendment, which clearly states that, if it's not in the Constitution, nor specifically prohibiting the states from doing something, that means that it's to the states. Okay? I mean, all right. Oh, so just under 60% is point number 2. Increased racial inequality. Where the hell did they get this idea? I just want to know, where did they get this idea that there's racial inequality in the United States? I am not aware of any place where a black person would get oppressed just because of their skin color. I can go into the same job as a white male, can go into the same job as a black male or a black female. And if she's more qualified than I am, she's supposed to pick it up. She would be able to take it. I'm up until the point that the Democrats started calling out all of this identity politics crap. I don't think we were well on our way. America was well on its way to being completely race-free. But apparently Obama decided to ignite the racial fire back during his administration. Now, just a little over 50, probably about 58% is number 3. Overturning of progressive rights. Really? What rights are going to be overturned? There isn't any. There's not a single right. I don't care what anybody says. There is not a single right that is going to get overturned because of the Trump administration, people. You still have all of the rights, no matter whether you're progressive, liberal, leftist, conservative, Christian, whatever. They are all right here in the Constitution, folks. The rights are right here. You can read them. I'll give you an example. Okay. I'll give you an example. They're listed in the first 10 amendments. Now, this one is the first. This is point number 4, and the fourth, I should say, the fourth reason, which actually ironically looks like it's about equal level with the overturning of progressive rights. And this one actually may have a little bit of truth to it, and that is reduction in healthcare access. And the reason why there would be a reduction in healthcare access has a lot to do with the fact that healthcare at the federal level is unconstitutional in the first damn place. Again, go back to your Constitution. There is nothing in the Constitution that requires the federal government to supply you with any kind of health care. Okay? None. Zero. Zip. Zilch. Anyway, they continue down the list here just to kind of hurry this spot up. Increase social inequality. Yeah, that ain't going to happen. Lack of gun regulation. Really? Like it's lack of gun regulation? Seriously. We don't already have enough gun regulation laws. Against, by the way, the Second Amendment, which says shall not be infringed. Weakening of public education. I can't see how we can get any weaker on public education right here. I really don't. I mean, we have places in Chicago and Baltimore where the kids, not a single one can pass grade level exams in these districts. How much more weak do we need to make that? Environmental deregulation. Well, yeah, that probably is going to happen. And that'll be cool because of the fact that it will actually open things up a lot better. Now, does that mean that we're going to make things all kinds of unhealthy and everything else? No. But seriously. They have unjust immigration policies. Unjust. You cross our border illegally, you're supposed to be deported. How is that unjust? That's the law. You come here legally and you're fine. You apply for citizenship, you're fine. There are several people who have gone through all of this. Erosion of voting rights. What voting rights? Are you going to, where do you people think that we're going to, I mean, yes, we're going to hopefully shore up our voting. Hopefully we're going to make it so that only citizens vote in our federal elections and that it requires confirmation that you're actually a U.S. citizen to vote in our elections. How is that removing a voting right? It's the right of all U.S. citizens to vote in federal elections. Really? Seriously. Deterioration of relations abroad. Well, guess what? America hasn't cared about what other people think, meaning other countries, think of us and what we do since 1776. Reversal of same-sex marriage. Yeah, that's going to happen. I don't think so. Weakened national security? Holy shit. Weakened national security. We can't get any weaker than what we already are. Really? We're going to get stronger in our national security. But then again, this is why I call them morons, because they literally have zero intelligence quotients on this. Increased military spending. Of course. That's exactly what the government is supposed to do. In fact, if you look under Article 1, Section 8, which outlines all of the things that Congress is supposed to be able to pass laws upon, okay, military spending covers a full, I think, if I recall correctly, a full third of the reasons why we have a federal government. These people are just absolutely nuts. Well, and just to kind of show you where these people have come from or what they're planning on doing here, let me go ahead and show you this one. So these are relocation plans by age and gender. Gen Z is definitely got a larger piece of saying that they will definitely move, and also a larger piece of the will probably move. They're the ones that are most likely able to do it. They also have a larger portion of the would like to move, but probably won't as well. Millennials, not quite so much. There's still more. Gen X is lower. Yeah, that's because the one key thing that I want to point out in this chart, at least in terms of the generations, okay, from Gen Z, which is at the top, down to the boomers. And this provides anecdotal, coincidental evidence of what I've always said, which is essentially this, that the brain, the frontal lobes of the brain, do not grow, which, by the way, that's where, just for those of you who may not remember, that is where reason and logic exist within the brain, where it's supposed that reason and logic exist within the brain. Grows is fully developed, I should say, at an average age of 25. Well, most of these people, as you age, you get smarter. You literally gain reason, logic, wisdom as you age. And the higher you get in age, the smarter you get, the less your emotions rule your life. And so therefore, what ends up happening is you actually become, believe it or not a moron in most cases. Now, of course, men and women are, they're kind of in about the same boat. They're really not that far off. But realistically, again, folks, okay, I'm personally looking at all of these people who are saying that they want to move, that they are looking to leave this country. You know what? Get out. Don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you. Because I guarantee you, we, as Americans and America, will be a hell of a lot better off when you do. Now, one of the biggest challenges that we have with all of this, okay, one of the biggest challenges that we have with all this is, of course, their follow through. They threaten all the time. I mean, that's like things like Bette Midler. She threatened to leave X in 2016. She left X, and then all of a sudden she came back. And now she's done it again. She left X again. I seriously am waiting for how long it's going to be before she comes back to X. And the reason being is because these people, and you need to understand this, these people crave adoration. This is why people like Rob Reiner, Meathead himself, has constantly said, well, I'm leaving the country. I'm going to leave. Donald Trump gets in, I'm gone. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Yet he is still effing here. Now, I will admit that I haven't really seen any of his posts on X since the Donald Trump decisive victory. Has anybody checked on him lately, by the way? I just want to know if he actually lit himself on fire like he said. Anyway, moving on. Here is a list, apparently, of actions that have been taken. Whoops, wrong one. That actions have been taken to prepare for actually moving. The top one, which looks like a little more than probably 27%, I'm guessing because the number lines don't add up here, but it's over 24%, have said that they started to research properties online. 16% have claimed to have visited or will visit desired moving locations. Probably about 14% have started organizing or downsizing their belongings. Some are starting to apply for jobs in a new location. Others have discussed transferring with a current employer. and researched getting a storage unit and consulted a real estate agent or property manager. So those three are all kind of in the same lines. There you go. I mean, at least I got to give them credit. At least they're kind of starting. They're kind of looking. They're kind of like doing something. They're at least doing something. They're not like sitting on their thumbs up their rears, which is typical for what they do. All I'm got to say, folks, is that if you're planning on leaving, if you really want to go, if you're really that disappointed in the country, get the hell out. Now, continuing on with this, 1 in 5 plan to relocate in the next 6 months. So that's roughly 20%, okay, of the people who responded. So if we take, here's some quick math for you, half of the Kamala Harris people, well, she's running right around 70 million people. So half of those, 35 million, have decided that they want to leave. So then 20% of that 35 million, okay, so 10% would be 3.5. So 20% would be 7%. So that would essentially be 7 million people have planned to exit this country in the next 6 months. That's okay. And notice that none of those, are with kids. I mean, they're not showing like anybody under the age of 18. They're starting at Gen X. So there we go. There we go. Right there. 7 million people want to leave the United States. I think the rest of us who are actually Americans, who love this country, who would never think of leaving this country unless it became a Marxist, communist, socialist hellscape, okay? But if you want to leave, go. Yes, you have this wonderful thing that God gave you. It's called free will. And amazingly, America, which was built and founded on Judeo-Christian principles and values, has continued the idea that you have the idea of being free. You need to go. Go ahead. Take off. Experience life elsewhere. One thing that I would ask that you do as you walk out the door, I'm going to hold a basket at this proverbial door. I'm going to hold a basket, and I just ask that as you walk out the door, please just drop your U.S. passport in. Just drop your U.S. passport in the basket. That way you don't have any reason to come back. If you really hate this country that bad, if you really think that this country is so abysmally hated towards you and everything else, please, I'm inviting you to leave. Please go. But I don't want to open the door for you to come back. Just drop your passport in the basket, folks. Just drop it in. Just drop it in. Now, I can tell you that I have been to several other countries on this planet. Some of them, I will tell you, are not what I would consider 100%. Well, no, I can't say that. So some of them, I will tell you, are ones that I would never, ever want to live. A couple, I might be able to work there or live there. But none of them, literally none of them, would be as great as this country right here. None of them are going to be as free and as open and allow you to be as expressive as you are right here. One of the challenges that I believe that we have with a lot of Americans, especially younger Americans these days, is that, one, they are so far removed from what communism and socialism actually has done to people. The whole Mao Zedong, the whole Cold War and the Soviets and so on and so forth. Okay? They are so far removed from that, and they have never experienced life outside of these borders. And so they are taught by all these Marxist, socialist believing university professors and educators throughout from the top down who are sitting here and just ingraining and indoctrinating these fantasies of a perfect utopia in their minds and brains. That they just think that America is just so horrible and bad. Well, then go. Go somewhere else. Experience life elsewhere, please. And you may find that all of a sudden you no longer want to be elsewhere, and that you desire and dream for the freedom of that lighthouse in the dark ocean, in the clouds, in the fog that is known as America. All right. Before I move on to my next topic, let me go ahead and tell you about this wonderful company that makes the shirts that I wear, like this one. Fantastic. I showed you pictures of a couple of my Whiskey Warrior fans wearing shirts just like this. And you know what? You can get yours and at least attempt to look better than me, because I got to admit, this shirt makes me look better. Attempt to look better than me by going to theflagshirt.com. Head on off to theflagshirt.com and get yourself a shirt that has got all kinds of patriotic clothing. They've got all kinds of stuff, men, women, kids, accessories. You can accessorize yourself in all kinds of USA. Show your patriotic spirit by heading off to theflagshirt.com. They're a veteran-owned company, and right now they are running their special for Veterans Day, Veteran 10. Put Veteran 10, that's VETERAN 10, in the promo code at checkout, and you can get 10% off all of their products site-wide by going to theflagshirt.com and enter in Veteran 10 in the promo code box at checkout. Get 10% off site-wide. Also, too, don't forget that if you buy $75 or more of their products, they will give you free shipping in addition to that 10% off. So go to theflagshirt.com and get yourself patriotized. All right. Now, I want to show you this. I do want to show you this. Before I get into my next topic, I want to show you this thing. My son is visiting my mother. And the area that he is visiting, as you'll see here in a minute in the 8-second video, it is fairly deserty, but it's one of the few places in America where they actually have driverless Ubers and vehicles. Now, I don't know about you, but this would be freaking freaky to my ass. Of course, then again, I also have a bit of a control problem. But here, take a look at take a look at what's going on here. This is a video of a driverless vehicle. Take a look. Oh, wait a second. There we go. Here, I'll play it again. It was really short and I had it really small in the beginning, but there it is. For those of you on audio, you got to go to rumble.com and check this thing out. But look at this thing. They're driving in a vehicle that has nobody in the front seat behind the wheel. Oh my gosh. Whew. There's no way. I don't know if I could even get into the freaking car, to be honest with you. I mean, look right there. There's the wheel to the car. Okay. There's nobody sitting in it. Nobody's sitting in it. Joan Adams over on Facebook, she goes, "Oh, hell no. I just watched Maximum Overdrive." I sent a text back to my son and I was like, "Dude, obviously you've never seen The Terminator." Oh, it's just, oh my gosh. Oh, there's no way. I would have difficulty with this. I'm just telling you right now. I would just have some difficulty. I'd almost want to, honestly, I'd almost want to sit in the front seat just so I could have like a way to maybe take control of the car. But I think they actually have, sensors and things like that, that if you get into the front seat, the car won't go anywhere, because obviously they don't want people stealing it or whatever. I don't know. I don't know for sure, but wow. Yep. There's no way. I'm sorry. He told me, by the way, that it actually wasn't that bad, but, yeah, I'm no offense, but nope, nope, no, not going to do it. Yeah. The thing about it is that in my normal life, what I call my normal life, I work with computers, and I've worked with computers my entire career. And I know that there are times when programs can go bad. So, yep. Nope. Anyway. All right, let's get into the next topic. So last night I was talking about tariffs, and I honestly, I feel like I didn't do the subject enough justice. Okay. I just don't think that I did the subject enough justice. So if you'll bear with me for a few minutes, I'm going to discuss tariffs. So a lot of people, and part of this too is because of the fact that people on social media, they're like trying to, present tariffs as like this bad thing, this horrible thing, tariffs. Oh, this is going to make prices skyrocket, and this is going to make things, all kinds of bad things, happen, that all of a sudden, Trump's tariffs, oh, we're going to end up, all this other stuff, right? Well, here's the thing. Tariffs, for those of you who are students of history, and I'm trying to find it here. Tariffs originally were the first ways, and that's actually the very first subject in Section 8, Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution, which basically says Congress shall have power to lay and collect taxes, duties, imposts, and excises. Okay, they essentially made sure that things like tariffs were essentially taxes on imported goods. That's exactly what it is it is a tax on imported goods. And the whole point of tariffs, by the way, for the most part, number one, is to generate revenue, but number two is to make sure that domesticated businesses and products are protected from undercutting by imported goods and services. The idea of tariffs has been around since our founding. Okay? Tariffs are only applied to other countries. They are only applied to imported goods to our country. Now, whether or not they're on raw materials or not depends upon the tariff. Okay? But the fact of the matter is that these tariffs, the way that Donald Trump is proposing them, are supposed to replace things like the corporate tax rate. Now, just to be 100% clear, a tariff is a tax. Okay, end of story. A tariff is a tax. A corporate tax rate is a tax. Corporations do not pay taxes. Wait. Say that again, Rick? Yeah, corporations do not pay taxes. Well, but wait a minute. They've been paying, 28, 30, 40, 50, whatever it's been. They pay taxes. No, they don't. They don't pay taxes. The consumer pays the tax. See, and this is where the whole economics 101 gets lost on the moron Democrats. Okay? The consumers pay the taxes. The consumers pay the taxes through the price of the good that they buy. See, everything is wrapped up in what's known as the cost to manufacture and create that good. This is part of the reason why minimum wage hikes do nothing, zero, zilch, to help people, okay, to help people rise themselves out of poverty. Because raising that minimum wage raises the cost of the goods considerably higher, because again, all corporations do is they pass on anything, any kind of cost, tax, electricity, any of the items that go into the making of whatever widget that they're selling. All right. It's called the cost of goods and services. That all goes into the individual price of the product that you, the consumer, are purchasing. So all of these leftists who are running around on the socials and everything else, who are sitting here saying taxes, tariffs, they're going to make the prices of goods and services go up. What do you think happened when inflation went up? Inflation is a hidden tax. Inflation is a hidden tax. Okay? That's what we're dealing with here. So a tariff, which, by the way, everybody on the left is acting like this is all of a sudden this brand new thing. Like tariffs, oh my gosh, nobody's ever done tariffs before. Want to bet? Tariffs have been in place for generations. Tariffs are happening, right now. You know what? They're also happening during the Biden administration. Wait, no, Biden wouldn't put tariffs on. Yes, he did. CNN Politics back in this is Tuesday, May 14th of 2024. This is just this year. Biden increases tariffs on $18 billion in Chinese imports in a new warning to Beijing. Now, why did he do this? He did this because he was trying to protect American manufacturing of electric vehicles. That was his purpose. Biden uses tariffs. And in fact, these same tariffs, believe it or not, were first put on, or first actively put on, I should say, and enforced during the Trump administration. Really? Biden increases tariffs on $18 billion, again, in imports, in Chinese imports. This is one of the reasons to put tariffs on people, is to make sure that you are actually actively protecting domestic goods and services, and also an attempt to negotiate with these businesses to basically say, hey, look, if you don't go, or if you don't just import your goods here, how about you go and think about building a manufacturing plant here in America and providing American jobs? Don't you think that'd be wonderful? Well, that's what tariffs are designed to do, is to protect our interests and make more products built and manufactured here in America as a domestic product. Now, one of the best examples that I have for this is in the auto industry. So for those of you who have a memory a lot longer than most moron Democrats actually have, there was a time where the auto industry plants of American autos, like Ford, Chevy, Jeep, Chrysler, all of those, they all of a sudden started outsourcing a lot of their manufacturing to other countries. Now, some of them moved it overseas to Japan, or even, over out across to some of the other Asian countries that are over there. Some of them outsourced to Canada, some outsourced to Mexico, some outsourced, believe it or not, even all the way across to Europe and built plants over there. There are some autos that when you buy them, you think they're made in America. They're not. They make the parts here, don't get me wrong. Places like Ford, as an example, they make the parts here, but they send the parts overseas to have them completely built and then ship the cars back here into the country. All manufacturers, it doesn't even matter, all manufacturers do this. There are a few manufacturers, such as Toyota and Nissan, by the way, who make the parts over in Japan, ship the parts over here, and they go and build the auto, completely build the auto here in the United States. There's factories in Smyrna, Tennessee, and I think, or no, maybe it's Smyrna, Georgia, and somewhere in Tennessee where they do this. And that's what tariffs can incentivize companies to do. I'm being told by one of my Whiskey Warrior P1s, US Abby Girl over on Rumble, that there's a Honda auto plant in South Carolina. And that's what they do. When it becomes fiscally efficient to bring the parts here to the U.S. and assemble the cars here into a final finished product. And I'm being told that Toyota is actually in Georgetown, Kentucky. But when they bring it in and they put together the final finished product here in the U.S., that increases our jobs. That increases our manufacturing. That increases American products, domestically built products here in the U.S. Now, again, this can vary depending upon the cost of the product and so on and so forth. And for an example, by even talking tariffs, not necessarily even applying tariffs, but by talking tariffs, you get things like this. This in the Epic Times. Let's see, when was this written? It was written yesterday, or no, earlier this week. No, yesterday, 2/8, or 11/8, sorry. Steve Madden to reduce China production amid looming tariffs. Other U.S. and foreign companies are beginning to consider the looming trade levies. So here it is, okay. Steve Madden, which is a $3 billion shoe company, plans to reduce imports from China as much as 45% over the next year, ahead of President-elect Donald Trump's pledge to impose sweeping tariffs. The CEO, his name's Edward Rosenfeld, confirmed to shareholders and analysts during a November 7th earnings call that the shoe brand is planning for a potential scenario in which it would have to move goods out of China more quickly. He said, as of yesterday morning, we are putting that plan into motion, and you should expect to see the percentage of goods that we sourced from China to begin to come down more rapidly going forward. This is also from the piece, other American and foreign companies have discussed the coming era of global tariffs in their earnings calls. Ralph Lauren Chief Financial Officer Justin Pikichi, I think that's how it's pronounced, anyway, expressed little concern that the fashion brand will endure turbulence navigating tariffs because it has diversified its supply chain and its sourcing. Folks, this tariff thing is not something to fear. It's already been in place. Many, many tariffs exist today. This is not anything new. This is not anything fantastic. This is not anything, whatever. This is nothing to fear, people. Believe me, the 4 years that Donald Trump was in office, from 2017 all the way through 2020, we had the best economy. We had inflation rates below the 2% target. People, this is just going to ensure that American products and products from other countries are brought back here to America. We've been in a manufacturing deficit for decades now, turning over America from being a manufacturing capital into a service-related capital, and that's not a good position for us to be in. And by Donald Trump going in and even threatening to impose these tariffs, not actually imposing them, but even threatening to impose them, will help to bring these things back to America. U.S. manufacturer, this from the piece, U.S. manufacturer GETTR says there are still plenty of uncertainties surrounding the tariff policy, but yet at the same time, says GETTR Chief Financial Officer Mike McCullen, the company would assess prices as an option to offset any potential tariff risk. So the reality is that, yes, we will have some products. We will have some products that will raise prices. It's going to be there as a byproduct. However, the hope and the intent is that when the the corporate tax rate gets dropped, because that is also Trump's plan, when that corporate tax rate drops, you will then see the prices of these products, regardless of whether they have a tariff or not, start to drop. That's all there is to talk about with this. This is not that big of a deal. Corporations are already setting themselves up to make sure that they can avoid these things. They don't want to price themselves out of the market. And in fact, speaking of cars and Toyota did just that. When tariff talks started to loom back in September 17th, 2019, this article in Industry Week clearly said that Toyota invests $391 million in Texas as U.S.-Japan tariff talks loom. Okay. Now, Toyota Motor Corp invested, or said back then, that they were going to invest $390 million at its Texas truck plant to build next generation pickups as part of a drive to boost output inside the U.S. and ease trade tensions with, back then, the Trump administration. Okay. This is what's going to happen. This is not, there might be, I'm not going to deny, there might be some growing pains, but I guarantee you that in the long run, what this is going to do is this is going to increase the economy. It's going to increase wages. It's going to increase products and services built here in the United States. And domestic products are going to benefit from these tariffs. That's all that this is going to do. As Donald Trump said in one of his speeches, he was talking about John Deere specifically. John Deere was looking at offshoring all of its manufacturing to Mexico. And he basically told John Deere, said, look, if I get into office, I'm going to put a 200% tariff on your goods and services unless you stay here in this country. You build the stuff here and you won't have to deal with the tariffs. Not to mention the fact that if he couples that with lowering the corporate tax rate, it becomes a win-win for the business and the consumer. Tariffs are not something to fear. Now, tariffs that are not used wisely and strategically, yes, that's a bit of a problem. But the fact of the matter is is that tariffs are not something to be afraid of. That tariffs are something that I can almost certainly guarantee you will be good for this country and good for our economy. All right. Let me take a sip of my whiskey. Because that's what I do. I drink and I know things. All right. Well, the civil war in the Democrat side continues. Axios published this piece yesterday, which essentially is that the Harris and Biden camps blame each other for the loss. As I pointed out last night, Democrats have one fatal flaw. They cannot look in a mirror for their blame. They cannot. They literally lack the capacity to look within themselves, which is part of the reason why we have challenges here with, again, responsibility, accountability. These are all things that Democrat morons have no idea of what's going on. They literally don't. They cannot look in the mirror and say to themselves, hey, you know what? It's our fault. They can't. It's not possible. They lack the capacity to do so. And so what do? The first thing that they do is they blame everybody else. So apparently there was finger pointing, and there was a report that came out here not too long ago where there was some finger pointing, especially at Mike Donilon and Steve Ricchetti, which are Biden's top political aides. Mike and Steve will have a lot of answers for having him run for re-election at 80 years old. That's one thing that they're pointing at. But here, there's plenty. Believe me, this whole thing in Axios is just, it's amazing to read. But here are the aides in both camps. Now, keep in mind, the White House, okay, has both camps inside of it. So can you just imagine what's going on in conversations with this? But anyway, so in response to Trump's victory, this is in the Axios piece, both aides in both camps are blaming the other for being more responsible, according to interviews with more than a dozen people in the White House and Harris campaigns. One person involved with the Harris team told Axios the 107-day campaign was nearly flawless. The Biden campaign that preceded it was the opposite. No, sweetheart, you put forth a garbage person, garbage candidate. And you did not run a flawless campaign. Period. It was anything but flawless. Back to the piece. Another person involved in the vice president's campaign said, "We did what we could. I think the odds against us were insurmountable," referring to Biden's low approval ratings and his late exit after the disastrous June defeat that raised questions about his mental fitness. Well, no kidding. I mean, really? Top Harris aide David Plouffe posted on X that the campaign had dug out of a deep hole. Yeah, right. So he's blaming the Biden team. A Biden aide told Axios that there are a wide range of advisors on the Biden consulted about his campaign who agreed on the merits of running, like the party did after the best midterm wins for a new president in over 60 years. No one has the president do anything. A former Biden staffer dismissed Harris team's criticisms as making excuses for the vice president's failures. How did you spend $1 billion and not win? What the F? Yeah. $1 billion, folks. I mean, Biden's spokesperson Andrew Bates told Axios, anyone criticizing the vice president's campaign is at odds with President Biden. Really? They don't like each other anyway, people. They don't. They just don't. Another person familiar with the dynamics said that some of Biden's teams resent Harris for not using the president more during the campaign, even though he is unpopular and prone to gaffes. The Harris team got pissed that Biden got benched. Well, yeah, there's a reason for that. The whole purpose of the Harris campaign, by the way, just was to make sure that they distance themselves from Joe Biden. You can't do that while having Joe Biden campaign and say things like, oh yeah, she was involved in every single decision that I made. Or having even Harris herself on The View in front of thousands of people, because let's face it, no, millions don't watch The View. Thousands of people and admit, well, no, there's not one thing that I would do differently than Joe Biden. Ugh. Folks, they're just gonna go at each other like crazy over and over and over and over again. It's been a long time coming. It's been a long time coming, but I'm going to enjoy this entire time, which, by the way, there's even some suggestion that Joe Biden actually got revenge on the Democrat Party. There's now suggestions coming out, this from Town Hall. I won't show you the piece, but there's now suggestions that are coming out that Joe Biden specifically jumped the gun in nominating Harris in particular, because that wasn't the way that was supposed to go down. If you recall, Nancy Pelosi mentioned that she would have liked to have seen like in more of an open primary. Okay. And that, to actually nominate an individual. But because Joe Biden, when he stepped down, nominated Harris as his replacement, rather than just stepping down alone, there's some suggestion that was Joe Biden. Let's be honest, that was Jill Biden's little dig back at Kamala Harris, because believe me, those ladies, they don't like each other. They don't like each other at all. So anyway. All right. Yeah, I've got a few minutes left. Let's go ahead and get to tonight's question of the week. This one's kind of a fun one, folks. I've got to be completely honest with you. Buddy Weiser, he submitted this one and he puts in some really good ones. But this one here is actually kind of curious and fun. I certainly enjoyed reading it and researching it because I didn't have the answer right away. I really didn't. I didn't know whether or not this kind of stuff had happened in the past. Well, here it is. Buddy Weiser writes, hello, my interweb friend. I hope this finds you well and with your favorite spirit in hand. My simple and possibly humorous question is this. Oh, believe me, this is funny. Has the act of flipping a coin, cutting for a high card, or other acts of random results ever been used to break a tie or ensure no bias in an act of our U.S. government? So think about that. That means that if we ended up in some sort of a voting tie, have we ever had in our past history the flipping of a coin, cutting for a high card, or some other seemingly random act of things, okay, in order to predict or in order to come to the result? And he says, thank you for your answer, Buddy Weiser. All right. So to answer your question, buddy, here's the thing. I couldn't find a single time that, and believe me, I don't know if this was like really an extensive search, so I can't necessarily say that, but generally speaking, it's usually, if something like that had happened, it's usually pretty obvious. Not within the United States federal government. Okay. However, believe it or not, there are state governments that actually still have on their books and have employed these randomization measures, even so much as into recent history. So, here's the thing. Because they were talking, I would imagine that this kind of comes up because of the talk of the tie in the presidential election, you know, getting 269. Thank God it didn't happen. But as far as that goes, this kind of brings up an interesting question. Now, the Constitution obviously has a tie-breaking methodology. Should the Electoral College end up in a 269 tie. And in fact, because of the fact that it came to that a couple of times in the past, the 12th Amendment was also written specifically to ensure that the process and procedure is clearly defined and understood in the attempt to keep from a tie from happening. Now, that being said, here's a few instances that the states, okay, have used, shall we say, unconventional methods to break a tie. For an example, in 2006, a local school board election in Alaska was decided by a coin toss, re-electing a woman who, ironically, had actually died on election day. In June of 2009, candidates Thomas McGuire and Adam Trenk tied in the race for a city council seat in Cave Creek, Arizona. They each got 660 votes. The town judge then pulled a deck of cards from a cowboy hat, shuffled it, and asked McGuire and Trenk to draw. McGuire drew the 6 of hearts. Trenk drew the King of Hearts and got the seat on the council. In 2014, a city council election in Florida was resolved by a series of steps involving a coin flip and a bag of numbered ping pong balls. In January 2018, an official of the Virginia Board of Elections, adhering to rules set forth in 1705, so this is one of the ones that actually has this as a part of their law, dipped his hand into a ceramic bowl made by a local artist and drew out one of the 2 containers in it. They had a paper inside that container that had written on it, David Yancey, indicating that Yancey, who was a Republican, had won a seat in the Virginia House of Delegates. That was the final resolution of a tied election in which Yancey and Democrat opponent Shelley Simmons each received 11,607 votes. Other election ties have been resolved by drawings out of a top hat and also a tricorn hat, which are the ones that, you know, you see like early Revolutionary War people wearing. A New Mexico law, by the way, mandates that a tie should be resolved by a game of chance, such as poker. Nevada caucus rules call for drawing cards from a deck that has been shuffled at least 7 times, with the highest card winning. So apparently more than half the states have some such kind of lot drawing or gaming procedures for breaking ties. Some also require some sort of a runoff election to be held between the tying candidates, while some have the governor or the state board of elections decide the winner. In all cases, the course of action is either random, left to personal or political whims, or starts the election process over from the beginning. Now, one thing I want to point out is that coin flips, okay, are not completely a 50-50 process. There was a scientific study that was done, and this is written in Scientific America, that researchers have found by flipping a coin, okay, over, and I got to find the number, over 350,000 times, almost 351,000 times, They actually found that if the coin is facing heads up prior to the flip, that there is a 51% chance that heads is going to be the answer, that heads is where it's going to land. So if you know this and remember this and you're in a coin toss, you can gain a very slight advantage. Granted, it's a 1% advantage, but a very slight advantage by calling out whatever side is facing up with that flip. So if it's tails, call tails. If it's heads, call heads. They studied this. It was somebody who was a PhD candidate in the University of Amsterdam went ahead and gave this a try. And they figured out that it's like a 50.8% chance that it's going to land on the whatever side is facing up prior to the toss. Now, granted, keep in mind, we also know that, the American coins that are minted here actually have a bit of a bias to the head side anyway, because of the way that they are minted. But that being said, assuming that you have an equal balanced coin, meaning that technically it would land on either side, supposedly 50-50, it actually comes out to be 51% of whatever the side is that's facing up. And the reason being they discovered is because when somebody flips a coin, they're actually not flipping it strategically. It's not being flipped directly on its centerline axis. It's actually wobbling in the air as it goes because of the fact that the flip itself is not perfect. And so therefore, they surmise that's why the flip comes out 51% of the time on whatever side was facing up the first time. All right. Very interesting question. I do appreciate that. Thank you, buddy. Hopefully that answered your question. You can submit a question of the week by sending it off to me at fans, FANS, at AmericanPerspective.online. And if I don't know the answer, I will research it for you as I demonstrated tonight. Also, too, don't forget, if you haven't already, head on over to rumble.com, get yourself an account. It is free. And once you get there and signed in, make sure you search up American Perspective, the American Perspective channel, and click that green follow button to make sure that you get notified every time that I go live. I will see you on Monday, Veterans Day. Happy birthday to all of the Marines out there for tomorrow. But I will see you Monday, Veterans Day, right here on American Perspective, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And yeah, we'll see you then. Have a great rest of your weekend. Enjoy your Sunday. And good night, everybody.
The previous broadcast was produced and is owned by Active Eye Media LLC. All rights reserved.